Buenos dias, Gunners Collective. Back at it, you already know. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. We keep it brown. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I said guard. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. You don't like because we keep it brown. Bye. Orale, as you can tell by that thumbnail right there. Dum, 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 dum. The Upstate Southsiders. Yeah, they got at me. They got at me a little something, or at least a couple of them did. They're like, hey, Gun, trip out. And they made noodles down in a direct fashion, like you say, why don't you ever talk about us? And I say, I do. I give you guys your props and all that. And I know you established and everything. But at the same time, what you guys got ongoing between the Norteños and yourselves, I don't agree with, right? So at the end of the day, I'm not going to speak on you and yours. And they say, well, trip out, Holmes. You know what I mean? We want our shine too. I said, hey, you guys do it for yourselves. I said, you guys shine more than enough. There's an extensive history with myself and the Upstaters. Being from Northern California and having been a Norteño and in the mix for so many years, if you think that we weren't rivals and we didn't see each other on different types of levels, we absolutely did, right? But there's no animosity there. There's no alimosity. Word of the day. There's no alimosity there. I ain't tripping on them like they're not tripping on me, I think, right? But what I've been told by several of them is that if I don't speak on them, don't speak on them, period. Well, trip out. I'm going to speak on you right now. You know what I mean? And in that fashion. You know, do what you feel you have to do. At the same time, there's no disrespect intended. But one thing I do know for sure is what I'm seeing is there's a push and a pull. Pero no strive, right? When the Upstate Southsiders were able to establish in Northern California, it had nothing to do with Norteños not being on their game. It had nothing to do with Norteños not really paying attention to their surroundings. It more so had to do with people feeling oppressed, because all gangs and all groups start out of oppression. It had to do with these vatos basically wanting to be like the vatos from down south. Now, they can say whatever they want to say, and they've established their own name in their own right, and they're doing it their way. You know, as you can see by the thumbnail, vatos from the Highway 101, orale, getting theirs on. But at the beginning, this is what was worn. LA Raider jackets, okay? LA Dodgers shirts, you know, things from the Sur, San Diego Chargers at that time. Now they're the LA Chargers, you give me, oh, hell no, right? This is what it was. This was our identifiers up north. So when the guerra started, when the war started, when we started to notice that upstaters were established, and this is way prior to the word upstater ever, I don't even know where that came from. I said, you know what I mean? That was something thought of, and damn, they ran with it. But it was just Southsiders or Sureños. That's why I say Sureño. Now me, being well-versed and educated behind the walls, and even in the county jails and the calles, I understand the difference between the Southsider and Sureño. We're not going to elaborate. Go Gunner chapter 505, whatever it is, just to stay alive, right? But I do know this. There is a big difference, okay? But we grew up saying the word Sureño because that's how vatos, that's what they spray painted on the walls. That's what they called themselves. So we understood, our understanding was that's what they were. Now, having grown older and having been educated in my plights and knowing what's up, then I know there's a difference, okay? There's a big difference. But that is what it is. You know, as far as the vatos from upstate, they consider themselves Sureños. Now, back in the days, like I said, our identifiers, our indicators were, you know, they used to wear Raider jackets or LA Dodgers, or, you know, they wore things to identify themselves with the South. Which always boggled my mind, because if you were trying to establish a gang or a gang up north in Northern California or any other state, then your identifier should be that city or that state. I know in San they wore a lot of San Jose Sharks. They represented their city where they were from. Oakland as well. They did a lot of Oakland A's, Golden State Warriors, things of that nature. They continue to do that. See them out there? They're wearing a lot of Golden State Warrior stuff. And they're going to continue to wear Golden State Warrior stuff. And we don't know who the hell they are, right? And that's just what it was. Now, but in the beginning stages of development of establishing their flags like that, they wore a lot of LA stuff. And that was like targets for us. We seen that and we said, okay, them vatos are representing Los. They're from down south. Yeah, pero they live up north. And this my primo. And I don't know what's going on here. They just kill everybody. You know what I mean? Allegedly. And that's just how that was. Eventually, over time, they started to evolve into something totally different. They started to come into their own and say, "Orale, Carlos, come back." They started to come into their own, and they started to establish the name Upstate Southsiders, Upstaters. Okay, still with an affiliation to down south, but there was always some type of animosity there. Now, I know a lot of people will say, Charlie Holmes, hey, they're homies, it is the homies, right? But I've done time from a youth to a motherfucking gangster that was in the booth, right? To OG. And I'll tell you right now, as a young kid, having done time in Southern California, Nellis, Fred C. Nellis, right off Whittier Boulevard, Whittier where the girls are prettier, you know? I'll tell you right now, there was always some type of animosity between the Southsiders, the Norte, and the ones from down south. The ones from the south always felt like these guys were, you know, had a little bit more to prove, or that they were pretenders in the game. Now, I didn't see it that way. To me, everybody was my enemigo. Everybody was on my head, so it was what it was. You know, I was going to get off where I was mad. I had to. I had no choice. So I didn't decipher or choose what city you were from and pick and whatever. If you wanted problems with me and you were trying to get me, I'm going to try to get you. And if you weren't, gracias. You know what I mean? I pray that. But that's just how that was. That's way 30-something years ago. It doesn't even count for anything anymore. Only in my life and what I've been through and how it shaped my, you know, awareness and how it shaped the way I rock. Period. Now, a lot of people say, well, Gunner, you're a JK. You don't even know nothing. Okay, I'll let you call it, but the wind's blowing. One thing I will say for sure is I'm a very educated man when it comes to the streets. I'm a very educated man when it comes to them walls. So I know a little something. I know a lot of bit about a little bit, but I'm never going to express and put out my whole game because at the end of the day, hey, that's not for your ears. That's for mine. Now, the Upstaters got at me and said, hey, yeah, you don't give us no shine. I do. You know, I do. The establishment was real. You know, in the 80s and 90s, you know, Balto started to come in and there was a lot of ghetto. I mean, I don't know what more I can say other than there was war on the streets. I hate to talk about violence and I hate to talk about war and what was going on. You know, there was battles won and battles lost. You know, there was never total victory on either side because it was just little scuffles and skirmishes. Now, of course, Baltos did take people's lives and did take people's wins. That happens in ghetto. That happens in war. You know, but it didn't mean that Baltos were because they were getting deeper, they were winning, and people were losing. And because if that was the case, there would be no more Norteños. They'd have been eradicated a long time ago, and the invasion would have been that much realer. What I'm telling you right now is there's a Norteño and a Southsider born every day. To which geographical area? I can't call it like an alcoholic. I just know they're born. Now, the Baltos have evolved into something else. And this is my perspective on what I think is happening with them. Now, we all know about the N2 hostilities, and we all know that behind them walls, there's a different type of unity now that is taking place. It is being established inside daily. It is being established to the point where Baltos rock with each other on certain elements and levels of the game. Okay, I have not been there to see it personally. But one thing I will say for sure from what I'm being told by primos, by family members, by homeboys, by righteous camaradas, is that it's a lovely thing to not have to worry about what was your adversary and to come together in certain elements and certain levels. That's a wonderful thing. That's all we've ever strived for. They do it in their way. I do it out here my way. You know, establishing some type of correspondence or some type of coalition here on YouTube, using this platform that I have to establish peace and prosperity amongst the raza and the brown people. It's a beautiful thing. Sprinkle the woods in, brother, because we want some of that too. We do other things just besides drinking coffee, right? And so there it is there. You know, black and brown, that's been established. Now we got a lot of unity going on. But I understand the one group that doesn't, well, there's two groups. The perro chato, the bulldog, they don't like anybody, right? But the other group that seems to not want to take in to what we got going on are the Upstate Southsiders. Now, there's a reason for that. They've been persecuted and oppressed for so many years, and having the enemy from the north, you know, when you're there in someone else's backyard, of course, vatos are going to try, hey, you're like a raccoon in the backyard eating the garbage, just that they're trying to get rid of you. You know, it depends on the comparison. I'm just saying, you know, this is how it is. People don't like other people in their land. Okay, if you're able to establish and set up shop and do what you does, well, you were just that much stronger than the next man to be able to do that. But at the same time, that doesn't mean people are going to lay down and just let it happen. They're the one group that has decided that for no other reason, they are not going to take it to peace talks or ends of hostilities. Now, when incarcerated, of course, you got to go with the flow, or the flow will drown you. It's the way it is. I can't breathe. I have a pain in my chest and I can't breathe. Yeah, you can't breathe underwater. You know, and we're talking about an earthquake, homie. We're talking about agua. You know, you're going to drown. You know, tsunami. Now, so you have to go with the flow. But why not go with the flow while in the calles? You know, why has it become that serious where the one group decides, hey, you know what, we're not going to go. When you see them out there, they decided to be cool with them. We're not going to be cool with them. To what degree of not be cool? The highest degree. You know, and I recognize that and I respect it. I respect each group. But if you're going to wear a Dodgers jacket, if you're going to wear a Rangers jacket, if you're going to proclaim being from the South, yet living up north. If you're going to establish that and let everyone know that you rock for the super or you're up north, then you need to rock with them, not just rock like them. That's what I've always thought. That's what I've always been taught. Now, I understand that there are a lot of relationships and correspondences between the South and the North right? And I recognize that, and I know what's going on, and it's like, hey, to each their own, orale, It's all brown anyways at the end of the day. It's all tortillas and papas and chorizo, for those of you that like that, and want to teleport into someone's, and whatever. Anyways, but what I do know is this, and this is facts. What's going to eventually happen is Vatos are not allowed to go against the grain. See, I don't care who you think you are or where you're from or what little gang area you think you're about. At the end of the day, represent your voters to the fullest, represent your brown people to the fullest, represent your independence homes and being a raza and represent, the first and foremost, that forever forwardness that you got going on. But also remember at the end of the day, don't go against the grain. No, it never works out for anyone. It didn't work out for me. It definitely ain't going to work out for you. Don't go against the grain. If the people move, then move as one. People are only as strong as their weakest link. And if they consider you the weakest link, then, hey, guess what? Goodbye. Bye-bye. Hasta luego. Hasta la shoot the moon. See you later. You're out here. Guard! Let them know. I ain't even got to tell them. You already know, like I know. That's just the way it is. Okay? Now, what I see happening is the Upstaters are now starting to develop their own stilo, their own swag, their own flavor. It's hard to identify, Southsiders from Upstate, the Upstaters up north, like say in the Bay Area. They've blended in Warriors, San Jose Sharks, Oakland Raiders, all this, Oakland A's, to the point with long hair and grills in their mouths and braids and cornrows and, I got the wiki. You can't tell the difference. Now there are some cases where Vatos got their blue brags out and, they're representing to the full. You can in that instance. But for the most part, you can't tell. So I don't see the difference. Then you're Vato, then you claiming a certain thing. How can you claim I'm an Upstate or I represent the Sud, yet you look like you represent the North? I don't understand. Wear whatever you want, have your team and be a fan of whatever you want. I'm a Lakers fan, and a Raiders fan. So sometimes they mistake me. And I wear a Brown Pride t-shirt. You think I'm lying? Watch out. Every day, Brown Pride, right? I do what I do, but at the end of the day, I'll never stray away from my roots or my foundation, okay? I'm no longer in the mix. I'm a citizen. I pay taxes y todo mine. I hate it, but if not, my ball cap will be deflated, right? I got to do what I have to do. But at the end of the day, I will let everybody know exactly where I am from. Merced, California. You know what I mean? Central Valley, located 209. Don't get it twisted, most vicious. That's just me, okay? I've never strayed away or changed up or switched up. I've always been from Merced, California. Just what it is. Vatos ask me all the time, damn, Gunner, don't you wish you were born a Sureño? Nope, I wish I was born in Merced, California, Central Valley. That's just what it is. Hey, Gunner, but there ain't shit to do out there. Nope, there isn't. Just try to find other Vatos and kill them. But, that's just what we did. Now, I wouldn't switch nothing up for the life of me just based on it's not in me to switch up, to do all that. I'm just going to do what I does. I have a certain agenda and a proper agenda and what I truly believe in, and that's the coming together of all people. I've said it so many times. I don't see the differences. What differences I do see don't mean enough to me to say, hey, Charlie, that Vato needs to get eradicated or hurt because he has a bald head. Nah. A fade, bald head, it's all the same to me. You just don't come with the weird haircut. What do they call it? Edgar? I don't do that. Anyways, my name's not Pontius Pilate. Now, trip out. The Upstaters have established a foothold in Northern California. That's facts. They're doing it differently. They don't want peace. They don't want they want animosity. And I understand why. Because they feel they're the minority group being ridiculed. But now they're getting deeper. They're getting deeper in numbers to the point where now their voices are heard and felt. The time is now, gente. Don't get at me on the phone talking about, Gunner, you never give us our shine. No, I want to give you your shine, but I don't agree with the agenda. See, I don't agree with war and all that. Whatever you got going on, Holmes, that's your business. And I'm not going to speak on it because that's your thing. Now, in the past, I have talked about Upstate Sureños, the establishment of them, my interaction with them, getting offense, defense, getting jumped by them, and having jumped a few when the wind blew. In my times, but I try to shy away from that because all it does is build animosity and hatred and envy and just everything negative, man, that it encompasses. And I'm trying to be about that mix. As far as Southern California goes, I got a good relationship with a lot of vatos down there. Got a lot of familia from that area. And I see them as the true establishment and foundation of the Sul. Period. It's what it is, homes. Southern California, Southern United Raza. They're down there in the South representing and united, okay? Up north, the Norteños are doing their thing. They have continued as such since the 60s or the 70s, and they're going to continue that, right? See them over there? They've been banging the North End. They're going to continue to bang the North End. That's what it is, right? And then you have Upstate Southsiders that I don't have no ill will towards, no disrespect towards. They were able to come establish. Now, when they're trying to separate themselves from the South, a lot of them are in disagreement with them. They're saying, nah, we don't want to do an end of hostilities with these vatos. We don't want to be in that. Hey, you have no choice, listen. You have no choice. On the Calles, it's different. There is no peace on the streets. There never is peace on the streets. There's too much wiggle room on the Calles. People they think they're getting they're all pooped out. You know what I mean? 10 to 2, 10 to 2, 10 to, they're rocking that thing like, you know what I mean? They're getting their thing on. But when they're incarcerated and they're busting down doing burpee, then what? We've seen it, man. We've seen local rappers from Northern California talk about all this and that, and Northerners can get it, and people can get it, and everyone can get it, and then they got locked up talking about, I ain't gonna do a burpee. I said, oh, you're crazy, man. Burpee, I spell that. Right? They weren't trying to do none of that. They went into transformer mode. You know what I mean? Man down. And that's just it. If you're gonna play a role, if you're gonna be from an establishment so old school and having so much respect as the down south homes, then you need to continue that no matter where you're from. I've always tripped out on it. You know, how can later on vatos can separate? Nah, I ain't doing like they do. But you're them, aren't you? Like, this is where it's derived from. So why don't you continue that instead of switching up? Now, when you become deep enough to have your own establishment, such as the Perrochatas, the Bulldogs, when they became deep enough and they felt it was their time to shine, then they separated themselves from the North and went their own way. Now, they were able to keep that establishment and keep it going. You know, they were able to rock against everybody and everybody rock against them. And that's just the way it was. I didn't know why it worked out that way, but it did. Okay? Now, with the Upstaters, these vatos are fragmented in different cities. You know, some they're deeper than others. Some they just got a little foot in the door. At the end of the day, man, you know, if you're not still willing to understand where you come from and your founding forefathers and the vatos that basically gave you the key and tell you, go ahead, homes. You know what I mean? Go north and establish your thing. You know what I mean? Then you can never understand exactly what it is, man. You know, shout out to the Upstaters to the fullest. Down as vatos. I miss some vatos. I got primos that are Upstaters. They're with it. How the word came along Upstate, I don't know when that happened. That happened one day. I got locked up. I got out. They're called Upstaters. So who's Upstate? You know what I mean? I don't live Upstate. You know what I mean? And that was it. But as far as getting at me, you know, reaching out to me and talking about I don't give you your shine, I do. We just don't have the same type of agenda, man. Despensa la tira. It doesn't mean that I don't want to, you know, give you guys the glory and give you guys what you've done, you know. I understand, homes. You guys are here. You ain't going nowhere, homes. You know, but if you don't get with the program of what's going on right now by the raza, then you're going to be on the outside looking in, and it's an ugly thing. Shout out to the Upstaters, man, that got a hold of me because they kept it respectful. And shout out to the real ones that continue to do what they do and have their own point of views. You know, I'm sure a lot are going to leave comments and say I'm a baboso. But at the end of the day, man, it's all about being brown, period. And that's what it is. Now, with that being said, I hope that was enough to wake you up. It's like coffee in the morning. But guess what, man? Guard! We're going to do what we does right here. Shout out to the real ones, man. I've always wondered. It's always boggled my mind. You know what I mean? Vatos talking about, I'm from Upstate, period. What's up? Why are you wearing the Dodgers jacket? You don't even like the Dodgers. I seen you over at the A's game. What? Who said that? Right? With that being said, I hope that you move with a purpose. Get everything that you want coming to you. Remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the strive and struggle for our familia, for our peoples, man. I don't care if you're from Upstate, down south, the east, the west, the whatever you're from. You know what I mean? If you're brown, you're brown. You can't take that from yourself. You know what I mean? I don't care how much you scrub with Dove soap. It won't come off. I said it won't come off. If you like it, hit that like and subscribe with a thumbs up. There's a notification bell. If you touch it and press all notifications, then you will be aware of what I got going on right here on the YouTube Yarda. Gunners Collective. You know what it is, man. The Gunners Profiles, we still rocking that thing. Like, if you don't like me, hit me with that thumbs down. Heaven's going to be the head that wears this crown. I'm going to continue to strive and struggle for what I honestly and truly believe in, and that's the coming together of all people. Hey, Upstaters, come on. You're welcome, listen. There's your shine. Bang, bang. This is the gun, and in that fashion.